Desmond Ridder and the Atlanta Falcons are flying down to Tampa to take on their division rivals and Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers. Both teams are coming off tough losses. The Bucs lost to arguably the best team in the NFL now, and the Detroit Lions, who just had a very just businessman-like 20-6 victory over them, while the Falcons embarrassingly lost to the Washington Commanders, a game that they should have won, and I will most definitely be getting into that as the Falcons fan here. But, Brian, I kind of want to throw it over to you first here for this game, and we're 6 weeks in now, 6 games in for the Falcons, 5 for Tampa Bay. What are your overall thoughts on the team, on both these teams? Because Tampa Bay coming in, we didn't really give too much of a shot, but with the Falcons, there were these expectations. You can see the slow build-up, all the money they spending on the free agency and defense, and that's definitely paying off. They're one of the top defenses in the league, getting Bijan Robinson. What's your overall thoughts and expectations on both teams entering this game?
So the Falcons, I think, are about what I expected them to be. I thought they'd be a roughly 500 team. I did think that they might edge out a couple of the games early on in the season. For example, maybe today was the only one that I really expected them to kind of edge out of like a middling team. And so for me, like they're right on what I thought they would be. You can see the progression in this offense. You could also see the potential if they feel Desmond Ridder's not the guy at the end of the season. If they go out and get another guy, whether through the draft or via trade, that like they could really be a contender in the Super Bowl run next year. I don't necessarily see that this year. The Bucs, in my opinion, though, have been pretty much overachievers for the large part of the year. They've kind of gotten lucky. I don't say lucky, but they've been able to win a couple close games starting off with the Vikings. And then even with the Bears, I think that was a 24-17 game till they kicked a field goal in the fourth quarter to make it a 2-score game. So, so like they're winning these close games. Also, strength of schedule wise, starting off with the Vikings and the Bears, those are two of the worst teams in the NFL currently. And so like that's easy. They're actually 1-2 since then, with their only win being over the Saints, when I believe that's when Derek Carr was playing through his shoulder injury. And so the defense looks good. I thought they should sell off a lot of their assets in the offseason and then start to really rebuild. But they kept them. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin have looked decent. And then, although I believe Mike Evans is hurt right now.
No, Mike Evans played today. He did have a hammy.
He did? Okay.
But he ended up playing today.
Okay. And so, like, they've looked good. They're just an older team that I think their upside is still really low for the total outlook on the season. So I do want to throw it back over to you. The Falcons, they had a really tough loss today. What did you take away from this loss today?
I took away that we have a lot of good offensive weapons, and when we could get our freaking play calls in time and read the defenses, we're able to pick apart the teams through the air. And also, too, when we would get a good push, we could run against one of the best defensive lines in the league. But the issue was it was just organizational things. Getting the play calls in seemed to struggle, especially in the fourth quarter and the second half. Desmond Ridder did not have a good second half just in general. But that being said, though, with some of those errors, if I don't know if it was a communication error of getting the play calls in, but just dumb administrational things like getting a delay in game on the 2-yard line, and then almost getting another delay of game. Oh, and then on that same play, throwing a pick in the end zone didn't look good. Also, then on the final drive, when you spike the ball, then you come back from spiking it, then you have to call your timeout because you can't get the play off because you're still trying to get everybody set. Just dumb things like that, which to me, if I'm trying to be, maybe I'm overly optimistic, it's like those to me, I think are coming from then the coaching, then the communication, then I think also with the rookie quarterback, maybe it's too much that's going on right now for him to handle. But if you could figure that out throughout the week and get those problems fixed, I really liked what I saw overall from the offense in the second half. Started off the drive great. I thought the first half was fine. Second half, when we weren't throwing interceptions, things look great. I know that's a big asterisk. Please leave a comment of me of yourself laughing at me. But in general, though, it's like there was a lot of positives to take from the offense today. but then just the lack of organization is what really screwed us. We just kept shooting ourselves in the foot. Defensively, I love our defense. I don't even blame them for putting up the 24 points because the only time the Commanders scored in the second half was they had 9 yards to go after a Desmond Ridder interception. So I think they held them to about 191 yards of scrimmage if you include sacks. Even then, Sam Howell only had 151 passing yards. They were barely on the field in the second half. Every time that the Commanders got the ball, it was a 3 and out. Or if it wasn't 3 and out, it was close to a 3 and out. They barely had the ball in the second half. In the first half, it was kind of a bend, don't break. There's a couple of good plays by the Commanders and Terry McLaurin, but in general, they kept him in check. I mean, having 5 sacks for the Falcons, I don't know, right? I mean, I didn't look it up, but I couldn't tell you the last time the Falcons had 5 sacks in the game.
Probably when Vic Beasley was like defensive rookie. Was he defensive rookie of the year? Like that to me is the last time.
It wasn't his rookie year. It was the second year, but that was a year he had like 15 sacks, 16 sacks.
That's the last time I remember the Falcons having a menacing pass rush.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. So I think I was still in college. And so, but in general, though, a lot of positives to take, but this is going to be the continuing trend and conversation throughout the year is Desmond Ridder the guy. So I don't know if that's it. I'm be curious to see what Taylor Heineke could do in the system. Maybe the veteran experience, more organizational, but something to keep monitoring. We're still in this division. I still am very confident that we can win the division. Also, to our strength of schedule, you mentioned that is significantly better than both the Buccaneers and the Saints.
Yeah.
I think then we play Tennessee in a couple weeks, then we play Arizona. There's another team. If we're looking at our schedule, that is just not that great at all. Let me see this here. Yeah, so it's like Buccaneers, Titans, Vikings, Cardinals, Saints, Jets. I feel more confident about just because it's Zach Wilson. So we'll have to see. It's like there's not a team for the rest of the season that terrifies me.
Yeah,
which is good moving forward. So, but let's move on though to this game here. I think with the Buccaneers, one of the things for the Buccaneers when I look at it from a Falcons standpoint, is I still think that their offensive line. I think you said the right word just from my mind. And leave a comment down below if you think I'm wrong. But I think that they have been overachieving, especially in the offensive line category. I think we saw that today. The Lions defense, especially the defensive front, is one of the tops in the league. And I think they just kind of had their way today with the offensive line and with Baker Mayfield. Constant pressure. Then the secondary as well then was able to lock down their corners. And I bring that up just because what the Falcons have and what this defense has kind of turned into, led by Grady Jarrett and Calais Campbell as well, who, congratulations to him, had his 100th sack today. I just have a feeling it's going to be a similar vibe that the Bucs are going to feel. A lot of pressure, a lot of pass rush. I think Caden Ellis and Nate Landman are doing great at the linebackers. Caden Ellis seems to be all over the field. AJ Terrell and Jeff Okudah seem to be locking down their receivers. And even today against the Commanders have a really good receiving set. Go with Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, De'Ami Brown, and Jahan Dotson. Then also you have Logan Thomas there, tight end. Only 150 passing yards from Tampa. So that's where I say this was a good receiving room that they locked down, in my opinion. I think that they're going to do something similar with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Offensively, I think our offensive line struggled today, but I think they'll do better against the Buccaneers defensive front, who I think is not as good as the Commanders defensive front. So hopefully we can run the ball better, establish the run, opening up that play action, because I think the addition of Van Jefferson really opened up the offense because he's not a deep threat. We were able to pick off Drake London and Kyle Pitts. They were able to find those holes, find those seams. So the biggest thing, the X factor is just going to be the Falcons. They're going to control who wins this game. Seems like if they just don't shoot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say in my reasoning. Desmond Ridder on the road this year has not been super great. I believe they only had one road game. Like 1.5 because the London game.
Well, but that was also technically a road game. But
okay.
I think they were the away team. But they were. I would still count that as an away team, an away game, just because of the communication aspect that comes from everything. Going up against the Lions in Detroit, especially that week too, they just lost to Seattle the week before, so they were hungry.
Yeah.
He struggled there with communication, and then in Jacksonville, struggle with communication. So that's just going to be the biggest thing is on the road against a division rival. It's a big game because if you win that, you take control of the division, especially if the Saints lose on Thursday night against Jacksonville. So, that's just going to be the biggest thing is communication. That was one of the issues today.
Yeah. I am going to lean towards the Falcons because I just think over a 4-quarter game, this offensive line and running game will be able to kind of overpower, I think, this Tampa Bay defense. Also, Drake London is turning into a number one receiver in Atlanta. He looked really good again today. He's had a pretty good season thus far. Kyle Pitts looks really good as well when they're getting the ball to him. And they just have a good collection of weapons there in Atlanta. And not that I don't think Tampa Bay has those weapons. I just think the Falcons have more potential on the offensive side of the ball, whereas I think Baker Mayfield is kind of holding back what they do have.
Well, I think they're providing exactly what we all thought that they would be.
Yeah.
I mean, they started off hot, and the hype was increased. Like, beating Minnesota on the road, these guys won the NFC North, and then win against the Bears. Like, okay, at home you start out 2-0, but it's those two teams also now. The Vikings beat the Bears today for their second win. The Bears only have one win, and that was against the Washington Commanders. Yeah. So, I just have feeling that neither of those teams or their wins have been that impressive. I'm also not that impressed with the Saints personally. Maybe I'm a little biased over the Falcons. Before my prediction, if you are still here watching this video, thank you. Hit that subscribe button. Help us reach our goal of trying to get to 2,300 subscribers by the end of the season. But I'm also going to go with the Falcons as well. I've gone with them every single game so far, and it's just fun to actually have to it's fun to root for them and watch meaningful games, unlike the past couple of years where it's like, it's like which players are going to be re-signed.
Yeah.
And so I'll stick with them also because I think at the end of the day, the Falcons are going to control who wins this game. Unlike when they played the Lions, like the Lions were clearly the better team.
Yeah.
I think here the Falcons on paper, they're the better team. Think that better skill position players all around. Think they're better in the trenches. It's just, can they put it together?
Yeah.
And so that's going to come from Arthur Smith. It's going to come from the coaching staff. And I think with everything that happened today, I bet there's going to be a lot of long talks and practice about execution, getting the play calls in, knowing what to do, and making sure that Ritter has time to read the defense and come up with what he feels is the best decision, best throw. Because if there's lack of communication there, then you're not really getting a good read on Ritter, who this was his 10th NFL start. So he's still a rookie. And he's still a rookie when it comes to total games started. So it'll be interesting to watch. A big game. It's going to be crucial for the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. It's going to have some pretty big implications here in Week 7. We're really starting to get into the midseason form, and we're going to start seeing what a lot of these teams truly look like. So I'm looking forward to it. Let's go ahead and wrap this up here. If you haven't already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on who you think is going to come out ahead in this matchup. Is it going to be the Atlanta Falcons? Is it going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? And other than that, we will see you guys next time.